able to do that?
Got
Oh,
it.
there. Okay. All right. So, with that, I'm passing the baton over to Josh at this point.
Awesome. Thanks, Rabbi. So, here we are in the sanctuary. I'm going to kind of walk you through the setup. So, when you come in, there's absolutely nothing you would need to bring unless you would like to bring an extra laptop for someone else to view in there. But I would hold off on that in a sec because I have a monitor set up for you. So this is going to be a little weird. I'm going to take the camera that's on the laptop and take it off to show you around, and we're going to get a little weird picture-in-picture effect. So when you come in, the laptop's all the way in the back of the podium here. That's because you're going to need room for the Torah. So, try not to bring the laptop close to you. There is a mouse, so you don't have to have, 6-foot wingspan here. Let me show you what we're working with. All right, so here's the computer. I know, it's like putting two mirrors in front of each other. Weird effect. So you have the microphone here. This is the microphone that's picking you up. If you come in and you notice, just go ahead and click that. That'll give you your sound. This is set up in the 360 setting, meaning it's going to pick up everything that happens in this room. So just FYI, it's cranked up really loud, so don't be worried when you go all the way up to the ark. It will pick you up as well. Josh, how do we hear everyone from the small computer speakers? Great question, everyone. We have a sound monitor set up right here, if you can see it. That black guy right there, that's our Bose. The sound comes through right there. You can change the volume on your own, just as Windows, volume up, volume down if it's too loud, or whoever is here on site can happily help you with that. Then I'm going to show you what everyone else, if you have people in the sanctuary here with you, will see. This is their TV monitor, 32 inches, so as you can see, if they're here, well, they can see it and they can hear it. Power cord for the computer. If you do have another device that you would like to bring in, the only requirement is that it has a USB port so we can plug in Ethernet, because all the way on stage left, sorry y'all, I should have told you to take Dramamine during this part. There's a Netgear switch, and we don't currently have Wi-Fi in the sanctuary, and if you do have a laptop, I would recommend Ethernet, even though we can technically set up Wi-Fi for you. It just takes away the bandwidth of the actual service that's happening here. And what happens when we go all the way up to the ark? Can we be seen? Can we be heard? Yes. Yes, you can. Of course, don't talk like super duper duper quiet, but if you talk at a normal volume, you can hear Ein Kamo Chava Elohim, even when you turn around, when you open the beautiful ark. It can be seen. And this is your camera angle. And if you do feel very comfortable with the camera and the computer, you can feel free to kind of do what I just did. We had a rehearsal today, and when they brought down the Torah, as you can see, you can't really see down here. So I recommended just go ahead, tilt it down, and you can just see the yod going over there. And that's really everything. It's nice and simple. Everything is done for you. I have computer access to this computer from home, so if something happens, I will take control of it, fix it, and you'll be good to go. What are your questions?
Do you record it?
Absolutely, yes. Someone will record it. You bet. And we'll get
I was remiss in not having us do just intros so everybody knows who everyone is and on the staff what everyone's roles are. We could quickly do that. I'm sorry about that. The technical difficulty threw me off a little bit. So Josh, as you can see what Josh's role is, in addition to providing wonderful music. So if Cassie and Stacy want to introduce themselves, they are important in this process.
Hi, I'm Cassie, Samuel's soon-to-be Cassie Desi, and I am helping with clergy support, and also I'm here to answer any questions you may have. So if you're having trouble getting connected with a clergy, you can always find me, and I can either help get you there or do my best to answer your questions too. Yeah. Sorry, I'm the Youth Engagement and Administration Coordinator. Sorry, that is my full title, but do other things as well. Stacy, to you.
Hi,
Hi, everyone who I don't know, but we'll get to know very soon. I'm Stacy Bover, and I'm the Temple of Hobe Shalom event coordinator. So as your days approach, you'll be hearing a lot from me in terms of making sure the pieces are in place and things are set up and ready to go, and all those little I's dotted and T's crossed moments, we'll make sure to get through it. And I'll be your go-to, as like I said, as the day approaches, for the technical support, those questions, what do I need, what do I not need, and all of that. I will be there to help ease this and make this as stress-free as humanly possible.
Great. I think everyone, my aunt is working with both families, right?
Yeah, well, we have 3, and we had
Yes.
time join us while Josh was giving us the tour.
Great.
So, it's true. I had the pleasure of. I know everyone on here tonight. I had the pleasure of getting to know all of the wonderful now 7th grade but 6th grade families last year. And yes, I did see both Charlotte and Owen a couple of hours ago today. So and Jennifer, please give my best to Max and to the rest of the family as well. And looking forward to soon, just a little ways down the road.
Great. I don't know if we want to have families introduce themselves to each other. I don't have a good sense of who knows who already. I think you all know each other, but feel free to unmute. Say hello.
Maybe if you've got one question that you're coming to this room with, that might be a great thing to ask now.
Yeah.
Also, I'm Amy Deutsch, and you all know me.
Matt Rubens.
I can do introductions. I'm Jennifer Kesselheim, and I have a son, Max, whose bar mitzvah is coming fast approaching, November 14th. I was just here. I've been getting updates along the way, and I appreciate that, but I figured I would just come and listen and learn. And I did have a couple questions that I can get to later after we do introductions.
Great. Matt?
Yeah. Hi, Matt Rubens here with Charlotte. Come in. Meredith. Hi. Our second go around, the first time was obviously a little different. So, lots of change we're going through, and we're just trying to figure out what January 9th looks like, and then, the big mystery of what happens after that.
Yeah, I have a question actually about, sorry, I'll come in to ask my question. So to the side, I have a question just about the process in the morning. So we went through this, of course, with Avery. We met with the rabbis before and just had a lovely chat before we started the service. And then afterwards, of course, there's the Kiddush. So and I know the service now starts later, right? It's 10:30 now, which is later. So I would love to know.
No, that's actually the same time, Meredith.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe I'm blocking it out. But is there something before we're doing? Or are we talking with you the day before? I don't know. I would just love to hear about that.
Yeah, I
would
can
like to
answer.
Understand, in addition to that, I'm trying to get my mind around who can be in the synagogue.
Yeah, right. Who can come?
Yeah. I can just say about the morning of that meeting that we had for Avery, we will still have that a time for just your immediate family and Rabbi Schaefer and myself to be together and huddle, and you can give Charlotte her talit at that time. Some families are choosing to have that part happen within the service, which is also fine. That's where we take our deep breaths and do all of that. We have managed to do that in most, not all, but of the families have wanted to do that for various reasons, but it feels really important, and we're going to make sure to have that moment Saturday morning with you. And I will pass the baton to Sherry or Amy about the logistics piece of who's allowed in the sanctuary. We have we did send some new guidelines out, but I'll have them speak to that.
So that actually comes up a little later in our presentation. So if we could have Michael and Jen introduce themselves, and then we can, I think we'll
Great.
circle back to that in depth.
And then at that point also, we can touch base about the arrival time and the beforehand as well.
Great. So thanks for putting this together. So I'm Mike Goldstein. This is
Jen Rappaport,
so
Owen's parents.
yeah. So our son is Owen. It's our third bar mitzvah, I guess. So the other two were a long time ago, and a whole different clergy, whole different setup, whole different everything. So looking forward to doing this again under very different circumstances. And again, really appreciate you guys taking the time to sort of walk us through all these questions.
We also appreciate the vast amount of flexibility that you guys have shown with a moving target, really. And we still are not completely sure about Owen's date due to his sister's travel, which is actually what we were grappling with a year ago. So anyway, we would love to know how it goes, and then we'll figure out when we're gonna go.
And we can still be flexible and in touch about that. And we can follow up maybe offline to talk about those dates, but he'll still keep that same Torah portion and continue with all of his preparation in the meantime. Yeah.
All right, Stacy, do you want to start the PowerPoint and we can just quickly go through and then we'll get to all those questions.
Absolutely. Hold on.
So while we wait for Stacy
Sorry.
to find it,
I will have it in 2 seconds. I think when the other thing closed, I lost it. And open. There we go. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Great.
And I think if you jump
Yep.
to slide 4, I can pick up there.
Perfect.
Great. So hello again, everybody. I'm Rabbi Daniel Schaefer, the assistant rabbi at TOS and your child's 7th grade teacher. It's a pleasure to work with all of them this year. I just want to talk through the timeline and the process in the weeks leading up to the bar bat mitzvah, and then go into a little bit more depth about what happens that morning. So about a week, a little bit more than a week ahead of your bar bat mitzvah, we're going to meet in the sanctuary over Zoom for a rehearsal. You don't have to come to the temple if you don't want to, but we recommend that you come, that you get comfortable with the space, with the Torah, with the technology. And at least one of the clergy and Josh will join you on Zoom. And we'll use that time to check in, to hear how everybody's doing, to answer any questions, and most importantly, to walk through everything that's going to happen on the actual day. So whoever has a piece that they're leading that morning, especially the bar and bat mitzvah, but also any siblings that might have a role, we'll get to walk through and lead any prayers. The only thing that we don't do that day is have the parents share their blessing. We want that to be something that's special and that you save for the actual day. Those are about an hour and a half, and we have generally been scheduling them going forward on Thursday afternoon from 4:30 to 6, Somebody will be in touch with you about that timing. If that doesn't work, or you prefer an earlier date than 1 week ahead, you can let us know and we can be flexible on that. And while you're in the sanctuary, Josh and I and Rabbi Berkman will be at home on Zoom. And so we'll get a sense of what it will be like on the actual day. We'll walk through everything and we'll prepare you for the morning of your bar and bat mitzvah. And the building opens at 9 a.m. You can come as early as 9. You can bring a photographer with you unless certain regulations change. You can take photographs that morning, take out the Torah. If you have family members or friends who are with you, they can be a part of that photographs within our guidelines. And usually by 9:45, there is a staff member or clergy who is on Zoom and available to answer any questions. So if you need to review anything, if you want to practice anything at the last minute, we can help you go over that and get you settled. And at 10:15, both rabbis are there, and we like to have like a little private moment. And for those of you who've had a B'nai Mitzvah before at TOS, you've had the chance to do that in the rabbi's study. We'll do it on Zoom with the immediate family. If you have any close friends who want to join us, just a moment to check in, usually to present the TOS, and to get ready to let everybody in at 10:30. And then the service runs pretty smoothly. We've had a lot of good luck. I'm usually sharing a PowerPoint slide of all the prayers so that your friends and family who are spread out around the world can have access to the prayers, even if they don't have a prayer book. Josh is on hand to deal with any technology, and Rabbi Berkman is doing the bulk of the leading that morning. And there's, of course, at least one staff member on site to deal with any issues that you need. And the service tends to finish up around noon, depending on any special accommodations. And the one thing that I've been offering as a suggestion to families is that you really think about what happens the moment you leave the synagogue. We've heard really good feedback from people about their experience of doing a Zoom bar bat mitzvah. But you're used to getting to greet your friends and family, to have some sort of celebration. And so I think it's worth putting in some time and planning either a special meal, a way to celebrate that moment when you leave, so that there's not a feeling of let down once you leave the synagogue. I think it's nice to have something to look forward to. And if it's nice enough outside, you can have people greet you in the parking lot. You can have people greet you outdoors elsewhere. But I know December, January, things start to get a little iffy on that front. We've also been asking if you want to bring challah and wine to do kiddush and motzi, that you pick that up and that you bring that in. And if you don't want to do kiddush and motzi, that's perfectly fine. But you shouldn't need to bring anything else. Just yourselves, your talis, and if you had a chance to make a yad in 5th grade, to remember to bring the yad. But that should get you ready for the actual day and the logistics. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that now, or if you have more questions, we can take them at the end. Jen, did you have a question?
Me?
Or, yeah, I saw Michael unmute yourself.
I think he's trying to prompt me. Oh, about the
I have a question. If we do a kiddush, can we bring our own kiddush cup if we have a family cup that we want to use? Is that okay?
Yeah, we prefer it. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yep. So that's something that I can talk with you when we get closer to the date, and you can, we'll say if you have something from home, you can bring whatever you want to do is totally fine. We'll have a nice tray for the challah for you. If you have a challah cover, a kiddush cup, anything that you want that's personal to you to help make the day special, go for it.
Okay. And then just related, we apparently have like numerous yads in the family. So that's okay too if we bring our own and
Yeah,
like,
choose whatever feels most meaningful.
okay. Or like if he has more than one, in theory, he could switch at different
Sure.
times. Is that right?
The
Yeah.
ARS one, I'm sure, is the
Or
most
whatever.
meaningful, though, right? The ARS one is the most meaningful.
That
for
is,
me
that's
every
definitely on the
ever,
list.
right?
It is part of the crowd of yachts that apparently.
As long
have
as we
some
make the
pure-
list, Jen, that's great.
Yeah, it's so on the list. Don't even worry about it. We've got it front and center.
I hate when I have that problem with too many
Yeah.
odds.
Too many yachts. It's a very
Too many
common
odds,
problem.
you know.
So we are getting some great questions in the chat that we will, that I think our plan is to go through a little bit more and then take questions. But we are paying attention. So if any more questions, let's put them in the chat.
Stacy, can you advance the slide?
Okay, great.
So Josh kind of showed everyone the technology. I thought these pictures were really sweet. Meredith was the very first, I think, Zoom Mitzvah. And so that's a picture of her and her mom. She did a really cool TikTok after services were over when they were alone in the sanctuary. And then there's Orly and Zev, whose B'nai Mitzvah was in May. So I just want to spend a minute going over health and safety. I'm going to, when I'm done talking, put in the chat a link where all this is written down for you, and is also a health screening form, which will ask you to use the day of your celebration. Currently, the synagogue allows up to 25 people in the building. I just want to say that all of these things are fluid depending on what's going on with COVID numbers and how things are going. But we really are using both the state guidelines and also local guidelines to make sure that we're, that we have a good basis for everything. So currently we allow 25 total people. So there's one staff member will be there, and then anybody else that you would like to invite. We ask that everyone is masked when they're in the building, except when they're on the bima, and that the only people that can take off their masks are people who are together in a pod or have been tested and safe to be with their mask off. You'll find the staff actually hang out in the back, in the foyer or in the offices, because we want you to be comfortable being unmasked, and we want to make sure that everything is perfectly safe. We will ask everyone to do a screening on the morning of, and it just asks those questions they ask you when you walk into school or when you walk into almost anywhere right now. Apple, they ask you, like, if you have a fever or a sore throat, or if the past 72 hours you had a tummy ache, all those things, and just have you kind of look at that. And just think about that and make sure that your guests also think about that. And again, this is all just to keep everyone as safe as possible. The rows are, as far as physical distancing, the bar mitzvah family or bat mitzvah family has been sitting on the bima. And then the rows are kind of sectioned off. So there's a spot, the front row, and then there's 2 rows behind it that are blocked off to make sure that there's physical distancing between groups or families or pods, however you're thinking about it. And so I also just wanted to talk, it is safe to celebrate. And so at one of the bar mitzvahs this spring, these friends were waiting on the steps, which was a surprise. And then another time they decorated the car, and the children went out and the car was decorated. I know some of the families have gone to the park or had people in their backyard, and everybody's kind of doing something differently. As far as guests from out of state, we are strictly following the Massachusetts guidelines for travel. And so you'll just have to double check that the week of your celebration or the week before your celebration to make sure you're following those guidelines, and people who are coming from certain areas of the country have quarantined for 14 days or have the appropriate testing. So are there questions about health and safety? Well, also,
I do just,
to wash their hands, sorry, when they come in the building. And we'll use one way for entry and one way for exit, just to make sure that everybody is as safe as possible.
So I think it's important for everyone to know we haven't yet had 25 people in the sanctuary. We're giving you what the guidelines are. There are other considerations that may make you, including safety, but others that may make you want to err on the side of much smaller. And one of those is just technology-wise. You saw Josh, and we'll probably, I think, have to replay show that again, a little bit of Josh's tour of the technology. It's a little hard, it's a really nice experience for the people on Zoom, and it's a little harder for the people that are there in the sanctuary to see us, see the clergy on Zoom. They're getting a little bit of a different experience sitting in the sanctuary, far from the monitor. We have had families, guests, bring in their own phones or computers to watch the service from the pews, so that they're getting the full picture as well as what's happening in front of them. So in other words, when you are thinking about, so far it's been very small. I don't know the maximum number we've had in the sanctuary, but we're telling you, so we have a reopening committee that, that is thinking a lot about this, and based on that, we are giving you these guidelines, but it's something that we feel like it's important to just, we're open to talking through with everyone. That's as a maximum. That doesn't mean that's what you should have or what's going to be an optimal experience, but that is sort of health and safety wise, what's going to be your maximum number. And just to reiterate what Sherry said, there are, if let's say you want grandparents to be in the sanctuary and you want them to have the honor of an aliyah, if they're in your household or pod, or we have families who are doing testing and quarantining, then they could be up on the bima and come up for that aliyah. But if they're not, then they would have to remain in their seats or stand at their seats for their aliyah blessing. And if they're on Zoom, obviously there's no issue. So there, just want to highlight that there are different factors you're going to want to think about when it comes to who would be in the building physically and who would be on Zoom. There were questions about that came up in the chat that are related to health and safety about the surface of the Torah scroll itself. So I saw Jennifer asked, is there plastic on the Torah? And Matt asked, is the Torah disinfected? We were kind of operating on the assumption that, surfaces are obviously less of a risk, and that the only people, as we said, up on the bima sort of touching the Torah are going to be those people that are already considered one household for this purpose. And because we clergy are not there, so we hadn't to this point done disinfecting of the Torah. That is something we're totally open to talking about. We want every family to be completely comfortable. So it doesn't mean that we can't wipe down the ends of the Torah, but I think the only people handling it would be people that are already in close contact.
And the sanctuary is otherwise closed from week to week.
Yeah.
So it's open on Saturdays and open on Sundays, and then it's closed again, and the people on Sundays don't actually go near the Torahs. And so it's been a full week since anyone's touched it before your celebration. So given all my expertise that I followed with the CDC, which is not a lot, but it should be totally fine and doesn't need that level of disinfection. The room itself is disinfected on Tuesday. So we use it on Saturday, we use it on Sunday, we clean it on Tuesday and set it up on Wednesday for the following week. So we give a little space after our church guests are there for our cleaning crew to go through, but they do thoroughly clean all the surfaces, all the bathrooms, all that stuff. So everything's ready to go.
Can I just ask a quick question about aliyahs again?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I missed this. So
sure.
If people aren't in the synagogue, my brother lives in Florida, for example, he's not coming up. Is there any way for him to do an aliyah?
Absolutely. That's been the most common way that we've been doing aliyot, and it's actually been really wonderful. So we've had many grandparents or aunts and uncles from all over the place. I think we even had one internationally. And we simply, I call up, I get their Hebrew name from you, or if they don't have one, I use their English name. I use the same language and chant to call them up. I explain that it's a symbolic, and a metaphorical going up to the Torah virtually, and they chant the blessing from right where they are, and it all is very smooth. I would definitely encourage you to come this Shabbat or the net or any of the upcoming ones, Matt. So you can just see what it looks like in real time, but it's actually been really beautiful because you can really see the family members' expressions and just the pride, and it's quite beautiful because everybody can see everybody in such a more intimate way in this way. So that is no problem at all. It's exactly as if we were in person. And the only thing that I may have confused you by saying, if you are having a family member that's not in your pod or household in our sanctuary space, it's actually a little bit less optimal, but we can do it where that person would need to remain in the pews and do the blessing from there rather than coming up to the bima.
Right, but those people would not be on Zoom. They wouldn't be on screen, right?
Well,
Hear them
so right, right. You could choose to. Some people have brought in, just extra people with phones, and you could have. Josh can say more about that, but you can have sort of another camera angle happen if it comes to. I think we're going to talk about it on a case-by-case basis, because if there is someone taking an aliyah from their pews, we just haven't had it yet. Once we have that happen, we'll make sure that it will happen smoothly, and you'll have that person on screen if at all possible.
So what if the grandparents are technologically challenged? Can they tape it ahead of time so that they don't have the keynote?
We just had that last week. And this answers another question that came up in the chat about if you want to insert videos. We've had that, no problem. Last Shabbat, we had a grandparent who had pre-recorded the Aliyah blessing. It went really smoothly.
When do you need the video, and where do we send that? Do we send that to Josh, or what's the procedure for that kind of thing?
I'll let Rabbi Schaefer or Josh answer that.
I mean, the sooner you have it, the better, but really just the day before. And if you send it to Josh and I, we'll determine who's going to play it. But
absolutely. And same with if we have, grandparents or whoever who are on Zoom and for some reason there isn't like spotlit, I will have the entire document and I follow along the entire time. And if I know the aliyah is coming up, I will get ready to spotlight them ahead of time so they don't have to worry about can they be seen? Because if there's 100 people on Zoom, how are you going to scroll through all those people? So you don't have to worry about any of that. I'll make sure they're spotlit so everyone can see them, and that's really nice and easy.
So let's see, I want to see if we missed any other questions related to health and safety. I don't think so. I do see Jennifer Kesselheim's question about younger kids being involved in the service. So we've had a lot of that. And if you may have seen this, if you've attended any of them recently, we've had candy throwing. If there are siblings or friends or cousins who are in a pod with you, kids that are in person that you want to be involved, we've had those children towards the end when we sing Siman Tov and Mazel Tov and we say Shehachianu, we have the kids who are in person throw candy at the screen at the kid, but we have also had many families choose to distribute candy ahead of time, send out little packages to their guests, including candy, and say, sort of, you can symbolically throw it at towards the screen at that moment too. So that's one way that kids often get involved. We've had siblings give blessings or offer just a couple of words when the parents give their blessing. So after usually parents will take one of the aliyahs, not a requirement, but if you do that, then Rabbi Schaefer or I will give you a blessing, say some words of blessing to you. And then at that point, we've had siblings jump in and add on to that. And then a very common honor for kids, if they're in the sanctuary, is to open the ark and close the ark. So I'm not sure, Jennifer, if your cousins are in person or remote, but it sort of depends.
Yeah, they would be in person. So I was thinking about something to do with the ark versus
Mhm.
like Motzi and Kiddush. They know those blessings. Is that
Sure.
another thing?
Yeah, they can. Now, are they going to be sort of part of your pod for this purpose? Are you going to be?
Yes.
Okay. So then in that case, I think them coming up to the Bima, saying Motzi and Kiddush, with Max all together, and then sharing the challah safely, however you want to do it. That's something we do when we're in person. We're always inviting all the kids up who wanted to come up to the Bima at that point, and then they'd all get first dibs on the challah after Motzi. So.
Okay, thanks.
Just a quick question on Zoom capacity. I assume there's no limit? Nope.
We're limited to 500 screens. If you need more than that, let us know.
I don't think that's come.
If you need more than that, congratulations. That's amazing.
Our highest one has been 137.
Meredith was asking, is there a waiting room or do they just enter? Okay.
Yes, and then that morning, like we said, we'll have that more intimate moment with each family beforehand, and you'll let us know. Some families want to have the grandparents there for the talit part, or they really want to keep it just to their immediate family. And so whatever you tell us in terms of, you'll give us names, let in, these people ahead of time, or we want to let in these people so we can say hello and schmooze ahead of time. That's completely fine. That's totally up to you. And Josh is behind the scenes.
So Josh is everything. Is he also like muting people who are technologically challenged as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can actually just speak to the Zoom security for a second. So we chose to create a unique Zoom link for each of your kids' bar bat mitzvah. We felt that was going to be the safest and most secure thing. We hope that you'll send that to your friends and family, but not post it in a public place that anybody could find. If you have a bar bat mitzvah website and you want to put it on the website like the last day so that people could find it, I would recommend that. But we don't want anybody to just be surfing the internet and be able to find a Zoom link. And when you email people to let them know about the Zoom service, if you encourage them to use their names when they're logging in, it's always more trustworthy to know that Cassie Samuels and Joshua Cohen are joining than like 82417. And so we'll always be a little bit more suspicious and understand that not everybody is technologically adept. And so we generally keep everybody muted the entire time, and they won't be able to unmute themselves except for the special moments when somebody has an aliyah or when people have a chance to wish you mazel tov. So we try and take those precautions to make sure that Zoom stays secure, and we hope that they make sense for you and your family so that nobody finds their way in unexpectedly to the service.
I just want to note, Jennifer has a wonderful question relating to multiple cameras. Josh, do you mind?
Yeah, I was just reading that. So this is the camera, this is the setup. It does not zoom in. I will set all this stuff up for you. If you would like extra cameras and extra phone in the ark, please feel free. You can totally come set that up. I just won't have any control or be able to help with any of that. So that's really on your own.
Josh,
yes.
I'm sorry. I thought that when you do the, oh, right. Okay. You don't do the presets on this. You can't do the presets that are close.
Just the webcam, right. Webcam and a microphone. So there is no, what you can do, you could sign in on your cell phone and just have that in the ark. Granted, you'd be on data, Wi-Fi behind those closed ark doors. Probably is not going to reach, and the battery might be dead by the time you get to it. So have a battery pack in it. It would also have to be muted. That's to say, if there are other devices in here, all those have to be muted because this one is on and will create a feedback loop. So that's just an FYI for other devices that are here. But if you want a Torah cam, that's really on your shoulders if you'd like that. But I got this camera here and this one here, and I will happily control it all for you.
We have had families do that and put a phone in the Ark. I think it was one of the early families, the Lewinter Christ family, did that. And so, it might make sense to just talk to a family that's done it and see how it worked for
You're at
them.
the Ark for such a short amount of time that I saw your question, Jennifer, and it feels like that's where you're going to focus, but really it's like 2 minutes at the beginning and then you're at the table the rest of the time. So it's a lot to worry about. It's not a lot of work to set up extra cameras, but it's more things to worry about and make so it's really up to you. And whichever staff members there will be happy to kind of help out. Michael, your question is amazing and we had not thought about it. So glad that you asked it. We have an answer, but we hadn't thought about that people would ask. We will preset the Torah for you. And I believe Rabbi Schaefer will actually mark with sticky notes in the Torah, or you have a picture and you'll be able to
We mark
find it.
each, not only where you are in the Torah, we roll it to the right spot, but where each aliyah begins, we put a little sticky flag.
And that's one of the most helpful things about the rehearsal the week before is we walk through all that. The Torah will be marked with those where each aliyah begins. So you just open it up and there it is. And we encourage you to take a photo that day so that your child can go home and practice from the Torah scroll text as it appears, because the line breaks and the words are always a little bit different. And we'll walk through all of the choreography and make sure that you're comfortable with taking the Torah out and how to hold it and how to put it down and dress and undress it. So that's a big part of the rehearsal.
And are parents generally like up there with, we don't sit down in the pews, right? Are we like up there sort of assisting and kind of choreographing?
Yeah, most parents have been sitting up in those chairs on the bima.
Yeah.
That way you're close by. There are parts, when Max is giving his Devar Torah, you don't need to be standing next to him, and there's other parts too, where it'll make sense for you to sit down. And Max too, your bar bat mitzvah will also have times when they can be sitting down. So I think most, if not all, families and kids have been using the chairs up on the bima.
Yeah.
So another quick
the
thing.
last slide. Oh, sorry, Josh.
Oh, no. So I was just gonna say, you can do what I just did. If you really want to get a little bit closer, you can just take the camera off of the thing and you can get it. That's just a really quick, if you really want something cool and different. But, as Sherry said, like I've seen these, it's really literally just a few minutes and you'll sound great. And you'll sound great, you'll look great. So, those are your options.
It looks different during the day too. During the day versus the night, I think the best way for you to feel great about this is to just come to the ones that are before yours and just see what it looks like. And that will also put your mind at ease, I think. But like I said, we're flexible and you can add cameras however you want to.
So what I was just saying, the next slide just says, we've got your back and we're here to help. And as you can see from the screen, we have a lot of staff that are really dedicated and devoted to making sure that these are memorable times for you and your family. And we're here, whatever you need. There will be a staff member on site the day of your bar bat mitzvah, and we will definitely work with you and be next to you the entire time. So please keep the questions flowing.
Were there any questions that you came in with that we haven't addressed?
Thank you. Very helpful.
Great. I think, I think that it's certainly evolved over time, as I said at the beginning. But I don't think we've ended up with any unhappy families. I'm very pleased to say, and you should feel free to reach out to anyone who's gone through the process. It may have looked a little different last March from the way it looks now, but essentially we've made it work. And the important thing is it's a meaningful and connected experience for everybody, and even in some ways even more connected, like I described about the Aliyah and seeing the faces of the faraway grandparents very up close and the tears rolling down the cheeks. Like, it's been a really it can be really special too. So I hope that you feel just excited and that this feels a little more like you can take a breath and release the worry about logistics, because we really do have your back. And you're probably going to think of a lot more questions, even I know Max's is very soon, but you're going to think of more questions. Sometimes they grow exponentially as you get closer to the day, but we're here for you as those questions arise.
Just one thing, Meredith just asked a question just to relay it. The post kiddush, is that inside? Do we have the option of doing it inside, or does it have to be outside in the parking lot?
Yeah, we can't have you doing anything with food inside with multiple people. But we are encouraging you to sort of, I don't know if anyone wants to pick this up who's seen, families that you saw the picture of the truck the decorated van, or for Orleans Zev, something a little special. I don't know if Sherry, you've seen other examples of what families have done.
I think that it's really going to depend on your family. I think Rabbi Schieffer really hit it on the head, that you just have to plan something, because it is, even back in the day when Ashley and Julia had their mitzvah, like in November, like there is this moment, it's over, and you're like, now what? And so it's good to have something planned and to celebrate. And so really it can be anything. You'll have to figure out like what works for your family and what feels safe to you and your family. We're guided, the guidelines right now, we're under the guidelines for churches, and we're not allowed to have any food service or any gatherings that are not worship related. So we're not doing that in our building, but we're happy to help with whatever we can.
Then hopefully eventually, when everything goes back to normal, God willing soon, some families have asked about doing parties at a later date. And yes, you can definitely do that at TOS, once we are back to that capacity, whenever it is safe to do so. And I'm happy to talk with you now and later, whenever, about, revisiting that simcha, whenever it may be.
I just want to clarify one thing. So we are, however, doing a ceremonial kiddush with a kiddush cup as part of the service. The kiddush that in this case is kiddush, like the gathering afterward, that with food we can't do.
Thank you. I mean, I was referring more to the former. Could we bring? You said we could bring a challah and a bottle of wine.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Is that in the synagogue, or is that outside?
No, that's inside at the end of the service. It's part of the service, and it's at the end of the service.
I'm so sorry, I got confused. I didn't mean to make it worse.
I'm sorry too. That was my fault.
Thank you.
What,
all right,
what
so that
about,
we can do inside, but we can't. But they can't come up on the bima. We have to throw bread at them or something, or.
Right. So anyone not in your household or pod cannot come on the bima, and probably you don't. I don't know. You probably don't want people all gathering around food and taking their masks off. You could, though, get creative and do something like give, if you're going to think about a care package that you send out ahead of time, you could have a little individual challah roll, or you could, there's ways you could think out of the box.
Can I just take a minute and show you guys one of the care packages that one of our families did this spring? So it's upside down. This kit was delivered to my home, which was so sweet of them. And inside was a kippah and hold on, a few things. Just like a little bit of an explanation about Caleb's bar mitzvah, what's in the package. And this is my favorite part, is that they made signs that say Mazel Tov Caleb, and the back is basically, this was their logo. And the back is empty and everyone could put something on it. And then they held it up like this when they sang Mazel Tov, Siman Tov and Mazel Tov. And it just was this beautiful, special moment where everyone had written something. Clearly I didn't write on mine because I wanted to keep it as a template because that's the Jewish educator in me. But they also had candy. They like actually put this in here and people literally threw it at their screens. So there's a lot of things you can do to make it feel personal and special. And we're also happy to connect you with this family who worked really hard on thinking about what this could be.
Yeah, and there are 2 moments in the service where we, one that's within the service, as Amy's describing, where we actually do unmute everybody or let them unmute themselves and they can all shout Mazel Tov. And then at the end of the service, we don't just shut down the Zoom. We always let people greet each other, and it's always a really nice little moment, even though you're not schmoozing over food at that point. But we leave it open, and you can feel free to keep talking for a little bit.
I also just want to share that families have commented afterwards how nice it was to really focus on the child. And so if you don't feel like doing a care package, or you don't, this is an opportunity to kind of go back to basics in a really nice way. I was really surprised by what the family had to say about just how they basically said, this is the way it should be. We should just be focused on the kid. We don't have to think about big elaborate parties or anything like that. It was just about the kid. And I thought that was really something worth thinking about. Not all the families, some of the families have sent things ahead of time. Some of the families have sent things after. Ashley and Julia are still on the bar mitzvah circuit, so we're still getting all these things. And some families haven't done anything, and it's been just as lovely. And they're using, car parades and VidHug or video apps and things with their family and friends that are different, but really lovely just the same.
Yeah, I don't know if you all already know about this video, one of the video platforms. I think it's called Tribute. We have a family bat mitzvah that's this weekend, and they invited people to send in videos that they then compile into something for the kid to watch. And I think a lot of those have sprung up, but hopefully that's on your radar, and probably it'd be nice if we could even work on compiling a list, as a lot of businesses are trying to meet this need. But it's really lovely to have a special video for your kid. Testimonials from family and friends.
What about the Friday night? What happens the Friday night before?
That's a really, really good question. So when we're in person, we always invite and hope that the family will come to our Friday night service the night before, and we traditionally invite the family up to join in candle lighting and then in Kiddush and Motzi at the end of the service. For the most part, we, I think with only a couple of exceptions, families for a variety of reasons have not been attending the night before necessarily, and we are more than happy to have you attend and just acknowledge you and congratulate you, and to have, if you want your child to say the candle lighting blessing or the Kiddush or Motzi blessing, or if they have a favorite part of prayer that they want to lead, and we're open to all of it. We want your child to feel like they're a part of our community and are really taking a leadership role during this Shabbat in its entirety if they want to, so not just Saturday morning. We don't require anything at this time, but we would be really delighted if you would come. A lot of families do, dinners, even if the dinners are over Zoom, and just have other things going on. Our services on Fridays are at 6 o'clock, but you are more than welcome to come for part or all and have a role if you would like. So we can certainly talk about that if you want to email one of us or make a time to chat about what that might look like for your particular family. We can do that. There was one thing Mayan reminded me, and you might have seen it in the chat, that another role for kids is we give your child a choice of what song they want to use to close our service. So a lot of places always end with Adon Olam, but we are very flexible, and your child might have a favorite version of Oseh Shalom. A lot of kids have a particular one that they all like, that they learn at ARS Tefillah. And then usually I lead whatever they choose, but we've had kids and we've had the bar bat mitzvah and their siblings, or just the siblings or cousins. You're more than welcome to have, if a kid or relative or friend wants to have, you want them to have a role and they like to sing and they're familiar with it, they could lead a closing song as well, as individuals or as a group. And we've also, I don't think we mentioned another creative thing that has happened, and now I can't remember how long ago this was, but we had a sibling play an instrument. This was Elio, right? This was Caleb's. So the same family with the amazing care package had the younger brother play violin, guitar. That's what it was. During the service. So, you know, it's not only okay, it's more than okay. We want this to feel participatory. This is not a show. This is it's about your child and your family, and whatever's going to make that meaningful for you. We fully support that. So let us know if you have ideas for how you want siblings or cousins or anyone else to be involved. We've also had families choose to have a relative give a reading. If any of you came to the Dykeman family bar mitzvah recently, they had people in far flung around the country do some readings and lead. One of them led a prayer for Israel in the English, and one of them gave another reading. And that was lovely. It's a lovely way to involve people. Anything else?
I'm sure everyone's eager to get ready for the debate.
Oh,
a lot more viewing happening tonight.
I'd like to see what that looks like for everybody.
So please do reach out if there's any questions, anything at all. And we look forward to celebrating you in the coming weeks or whenever you decide.
Yeah, please be in touch. We want to hear any and all questions and concerns, and we're really excited for you.
And some will be hearing from me very, very soon. Jennifer, especially.
I'm here. Thank you so much, you guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you.